Hello and welcome, everybody. Welcome to the No Name Music Cast. My name's Tim, and this is
Joy.
And as we start at the top of the episode, I have an update from me. Now, as you may have heard from our streaming episode, which was maybe the last episode, 2 episodes ago, I'm not sure.
I think
2
it's
episodes ago, Joy's telling me. We record these episodes into the future, so I sometimes forget when they post and what kind of stuff. But anyhow, 2 episodes ago, we did a streaming episode. And I went through my streaming music journey. And I ended my streaming music journey by saying I tried Spotify. I was not happy with the sound quality. And I was back to faffing about trying to get MP3 files on my phone. That's where it left. Left you all hanging. You thought that was it. However, the other day, I thought, do you know what? I think I'm going to give this Spotify thing a go again. And I reinstalled the app and I played about with the settings. And I think I may have missed something when it comes to the high quality setting or something. So I started using it again and I put it on with the headphones and I thought, actually, this isn't too bad. And I compared it to some files I had on my phone and they were certainly comparable. And a few of the files on Spotify actually sounded a tiny bit better. So I took it into my car, plugged it into my car with my fancy Apple CarPlay, and it doesn't sound too bad. And again, I played about with it, and I thought, maybe I can work with this. So we are approximately 1 week into my new Spotify journey. Now, to be honest, most of the stuff I'm playing on there is stuff I already have in my collection on my computer, but the sheer convenience of it, not having to faff about with files, I think is worth the price of admission. And today, I did listen to 3 live albums on Spotify at work that I didn't have in my collection, and I was very pleased with that.
Look at you, Tim. So here's the question. When you were doing your final analysis and determining, you were comparing the quality of your MP3s in your car with the quality of the Spotify, what songs were in the quality check? I'm just curious.
There was Bill and Ted's Bogus Journey soundtrack, which is like a generic rock album, which probably isn't recorded with the best quality or hasn't been mastered with the best quality. So I thought that's a good benchmark for maybe something that isn't super high quality.
It's average, yeah.
Yeah. I was using Queen's Dragon Attack, which is a song I know very well. And then I was using Daft Punk's Random Access Memories, which is recorded incredibly well and is like a masterclass in industrial sound design. So I was taking three very distinct things. The other one that I did a little bit was Hotel California off Hell Freezes Over, the Eagles concert, which again at the time was considered an absolutely fantastically done recording. And I think, if I put my really good Audio-Technica headphones on, and I listen very, very, very closely. Sometimes my rips sound better. Sometimes they don't. But I don't know. Once I got into this Spotifying and making my playlists and all this kind of stuff, I don't know. I'm giving it to the end of the month. I'll be checking in again with listeners at the end of the month. But I think I may be embracing this.
I swear our listeners are going to be like, there's no way he works. He's an IT manager. They're going to be like, they say that, but I don't know.
Well, anyway, that's my big update. As I said, I also, in the intervening period, I also tried Amazon Music, and don't bother with that. It's terrible.
I'm not a fan. I've had bad luck with it.
Yeah, I got a 1 month free trial just to try it out. It sounded all right. I think they'd have like a high quality stream type thing, but the interface is terrible. And like with Spotify and the like, you can download the files direct to your device. So if you're in bad cell coverage or you just don't want to use your cellular data, you can download a load of stuff to your phone and it will play offline. And then if you want to remove it, you just go into the album and you go bonk and then it disappears. However, Amazon Music is ridiculous. What you have to do is you download a load of stuff and there's no way of getting rid of it. And the only way you can get rid of it is you have to make Amazon Music go offline. There's a setting deep in the settings, offline. And once it's offline, that you could then select all your offline albums and then you can delete them. It's absurdly convoluted.
Well, I downloaded one song on Amazon Music and said, I don't like this, and then canceled my free trial.
Yeah.
I just didn't. It was choppy. It wasn't a fluid experience.
Yeah, it used to be the app used to be terrible. It used to cut out all the time. I think they've fixed that, but it's just not good.
No. I mean, they don't sponsor us, so we really have no obligation to them.
No, one thing I like about us, you see, we give a very unbiased approach to all the things that we review on here because, they're not paying us money, so it's completely unbiased.
That's another little indie podcast. It was just funny because I was like, people are going to start to wonder what we have against Amazon.
I've got nothing against Amazon. Everything in this room probably came from Amazon, to be perfectly honest with you.
The guy, I swear to you, the FedEx, UPS, whatever, they know me by name at this point, wave as they're setting my Amazon package on the doorstep. But Tim's right. I can name 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 things within this range that came from Amazon on my desk.
Yeah, as I'm looking in this room on my camera view, the sofa came from a local furniture shop. I think everything else in this room came from Amazon. I think almost everything.
And I didn't even count the headphones I'm wearing, the docking station that I have that's like a USB one that also hooks to my external monitors. It just goes on and on.
There we are. I mean, some people say you shouldn't shop at Amazon because they put small companies out of business. But I don't know. There's ethics, and then there's the convenience of having this stuff turn up at your house, and it's a challenge in the modern world. Let me tell you.
And I would, if I could get something local, I will definitely try to. It's kind of like when there's that whole ethical thing behind, them begging us. Like me and Tim have talked about recycling in our state. Probably only 2% of it at the most actually gets recycled. There's a whole thing about, but they're forcing us to recycle. But then it's big businesses like Amazon get to break rules all the time about the EPA. And you're like, how important is it for me to recycle? Because no matter how much I recycle, it's not going to break the ozone layer from Amazon over here.
I know.
Anyway, that's a debate for another time because that's not this podcast. What's next, Tim?
Okay, so I have some music news at the top of the episode. Music news. So this week we heard some sad news that Ozzy Osbourne has said that he's retiring from touring and performing live.
Did you see the pictures of him?
Yeah, I mean, he's an older gentleman. I mean, he's 74 years old. He's lived a life of intrigue, of rock and roll excess. He's lived, he's laughed, he's loved, he's lost, all that kind of stuff. He's lived quite the life, but it's a shame that he can no longer tour anymore. He had a spinal injury.
Yeah.
And he also has Parkinson's. And it's just that him and his medical team have just decided that it's really impossible for him to tour, the constant traveling and all that stuff. It's just not going to work for Ozzy going forward.
And I apologize for cutting you off there. But yeah, I was reading and I saw the pictures. He didn't look terrible to me. He just looked like an elderly gentleman. But I did see a cute thing recently because, his wife is still on one of those morning shows, The View, Good Morning America, something. And he came in and stopped the episode and brought her flowers the other day and then walked off. It was really cute.
Well, that's really nice. I mean, I get the sense that Ozzy's a pretty good guy, really, deep down. He's lived the rock and roll lifestyle, but it's just a shame because he was going to do that No More Tours 2, this farewell tour. He started it in 2018 and they had to cut it short because of the COVIDs. And he just can't finish it. I mean, in the press release he gave, he said, he hadn't given refunds yet because he was hoping to do it. But at this point, sorry, he can't do it. He did say that hopefully he would be open to some kind of residency, a Vegas residency or something, if that was something that would be possible. But certainly from a touring type thing, Ozzy's out, unfortunately.
Well, touring's kind of hard on the body, I think, over time because you're literally, in and out of different things. Yeah. I mean, I would love to see him live just because I know he puts on a really good show. And it goes back to think about everything you know about Ozzy. It'd be a really good show, no matter how old he is. But it goes back to what me and Tim said. See your idols now because you never know what's going to happen.
Yeah, absolutely. Even someone that may be much younger than Ozzy. If you like them, go and see them because you never know what's around the corner.
Yep. That's our life advice. And 2023 has already taken a lot of musicians from us. So me and Tim are going to say it even more this year.
Exactly. And also there was some other sad news today. We got the tragic news that Leaping Lanny Poffo passed away today.
I did. I was literally just looking at that before we got on the thing, Tim.
Did you know who Leaping Lanny Poffo was?
Not a clue, but I was trying to see if anyone died today.
Leaping Lanny Poffo was Macho Man Randy Savage's brother.
Oh, yeah. I was looking up celebrity deaths and he popped up.
Yeah, and he was famous for reading poetry in the ring and having it written on frisbees, and then he'd throw the frisbee to the crowd. And he had some success with that character, but he came back later on in sort of the late 80s, early 90s as the Genius when he was managing Mr. Perfect Kurt Hennig. And he used to come in the ring and talk about how much of a genius he was and read from a scroll, and he'd wear like a graduation cap and a gown.
Okay, then. I mean, I guess that makes him a genius in his mind. What did the scroll say?
Well, it's the same thing. He would read like some proclamation on some plastic scroll. But I think it was a metal scroll, and then it ended up being used as a weapon and stuff. But anyhow, we salute you, Leaping Lanny Poffo. I enjoyed watching some of your shenanigans on Peacock recently in my World Wrestling Federation rewatch. So peace to you, Leaping Lanny Poffo.
Or a leap to you or something.
Yeah, leap to you, Leaping Lanny Poffo.
There you go. There's my little joke for the day. All right, what's up next?
Okay, so this week too, before we get into the topic, this week they announced the nominees for the 2023 Rock and Roll Hall of Fame nomination class.
I have not seen this.
Okay, so it's quite the list this year, and there's some. I'd say some controversy because some people, this is the first time that they've been nominated. But I mean, of course, these are just the nominees. These are not the winners. You know, this is the list that they're going to get picked from. So in this year's class, you have Willie Nelson.
Okay.
Kate Bush.
Okay.
And you know, Kate Bush is long due this nomination.
I agree,
But I think she's had a bit of a renaissance with that Stranger Things and running up that hill and all that kind of stuff. And a lot of people who are not super familiar with Kate Bush just sort of woke up to the genius of Kate Bush all of a sudden.
Yeah, and she always had a little bit of a rock vibe to her, so I get it.
Absolutely. Also have Missy Elliott, who's somebody I wouldn't know what she looked like if she walked in this room, and I couldn't tell you one song that she did.
So I love Missy Elliott. The first one that comes to mind is Work It. She's a hip-hop R&B act, so it would be someone you're familiar with. She has done a lot of things. She's contributed to a lot of music. She's sung on a lot of different things. I don't know how I feel about her being in the rock genre because it's not her genre at all, but she's talented.
Yeah, I mean, that's the thing about the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame. It basically, at this point, is the Music Hall of Fame.
Yeah, she's talented in her own right. She's, many albums, done many things, but rock, not so much.
Yeah, well, one thing that she does have in her favor is she did the Super Bowl halftime show with Katy Perry.
This is true.
And
is that the only thing you know from her?
Yeah, that's the first and only time I've ever seen Missy Elliott.
Fair enough. All right, who's next?
We have George Michael.
Overdue.
Absolutely. A Tribe Called Quest. Again, somebody I'm not familiar with.
I don't either. I have no clue.
Iron Maiden.
Okay, overdue.
Yeah, Joy Division and New Order. You know, they're sort of linked with their band members, so...
Yeah, I mean, that's kind of on the fence for me. I don't know.
Yeah,
it could go either way.
Cyndi Lauper.
I mean, if it's going to be the Music Hall of Fame, you might as well put her in there.
Yeah, I mean, she's an activist. She's a musician, songwriter, and also she was responsible for the popularity of WWF wrestling in the 80s. So she needs to go in.
Well, and she's very close to having an EGOT, I think, because I think she got a Tony for Kinky Boots. So I think all she needs now is an Oscar or something.
Absolutely.
There you go.
Okay, Rage Against the Machine.
Overdue.
Absolutely. Soundgarden.
Huh. So here's the thing. I like Soundgarden, but they're a very small career window to me. And so to be in the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame, I feel like it's kind of in my mind, it feels like it should be a longer career, but maybe I just don't know Soundgarden that well.
I think it's the influence of Soundgarden because, in your so-called grunge era, they were one of the sort of breakout bands from that era that had a career with many albums and lots of different songs and sort of moved. They were considered grunge, I suppose, but they were more kind of like alternative rock. And I think that they were very influential. And like Chris Cornell went on to, you know, bigger and better things after Soundgarden too. So, I mean, I can see why they would be nominated.
Okay, yeah, I didn't think about it like that because you've got that whole genre that kind of changed in the rock world, and they're probably the predecessors of it. So I see it. Makes sense.
There we are. We also have the Spinners, which is a classic act.
So random though. Like I don't know. Rock and Roll Hall of Fame. I got to take that out of my mind.
Just consider it the Music Hall of Fame.
Yeah, it's true.
You have the White Stripes. Now, the White Stripes is not an act that I enjoy. I just don't get the White Stripes at all. Because Meg White, who was that his wife or his sister? I can't remember. His sister, yeah. From a technical sense, she is not a good drummer. Like, I could probably drum as good as that almost. And I find Jack White's guitar playing equally not good. Now, I may be completely off base here because I don't get it. But to me, I find his guitar playing noisy and sloppy.
What I think of the White Stripes is I think of them as one-hit wonders. All I think of is Seven Nation Army, and I don't know anything else.
Yeah, and I'm sure there's a lot of people that enjoy the music of the White Stripes, and maybe I'm missing something with Jack White, but it doesn't resonate with me. And he's often discussed in the same way as other guitar greats, and I don't get it myself. And I said I could be wrong with this, but I just don't get it myself.
I mean, I've never went down that rabbit hole and I'm not really looking at the same forums as you with the guitar world. So maybe I've never seen that, but they're a band that kind of like, there was a time where I loved Fuse. Did you ever watch Fuse? Do you know what Fuse is? Mm-hmm. I loved Fuse. I spent a lot of time on Fuse. Just doing different things, listening to Fuse, watching Fuse, all this stuff, doing different things, and how I learned like this subgenre of bands. And there's a certain one. It's like the White Stripes were there, AFI was there. I don't know. I'm trying to think of, and you've got all your alternative rock bands, all of those. The Lost Prophets was a band that was there for a hot minute. There were some long-term bands like AFI is a bigger band or MCR is a bigger band, but then you've got like the Lost Prophets, Stone Temple, all that. Mm-hmm. And I kind of put them in that little genre with them because like they were there for a minute, but like that was it. I don't really think of them long-term.
Yeah, I mean, some people speak very highly of Jack White for what he's done for the vinyl community with Third Man Records. Mm-hmm. He has his own label. He's built a vinyl pressing plant. He has a studio. So I think he has a big influence in music, but the music that he created in the White Stripes is not to my liking. But as I said, if you love the White Stripes and that resonates with you, that's good. Enjoy it. But that's just me.
Yeah. No, that makes sense. We spent a lot more time talking about the White Stripes than I thought we were going to. All right, what's next on the list?
Okay, you have Warren Zevon.
I don't know who that is.
He did Werewolves of London.
Oh, yeah. Okay, I do know what Werewolves of London is. I don't think I knew that was his name, though.
Yeah, he was first eligible in 1994, and apparently Billy Joel sent a letter to the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame saying, you need to induct this guy. This guy's a legend. So I don't know if Billy Joel's letter had anything to do with it, but he's on the nomination list. Now, I left the best till last, the person who is guaranteed to get in my opinion, and this is the first year that they were eligible. And that person would be Sheryl Crow.
Of course. I mean, that one's a given. Overdue as well. Tim has personally actually sent the letter in to make that happen. Everyone doesn't know that, but that was actually Tim O'Sullivan. Yeah. That took it very into took his opinion very seriously.
Yeah, and in fact, I was listening to a Sheryl Crow concert on Spotify, in fact, this morning. It was from 1999 in Central Park. And it was such a good concert. And it had some guests in it. It had Stevie Nicks, your friend.
Yeah.
Sadly, it had one song with Eric Clapton on it. And it had Keith Richards performing as well. And there was a few other people that were singing with her. But it was like peak Sheryl. It was fantastic. I would recommend it. Go onto your Spotify's and pull up the concert from 1999 in Central Park. Highly recommended.
All right. I'll check my MySpace afterwards for it.
Okay. So we're going to get now into the topic of the episode. It's my turn to pick. Now, I spoke to Joy about this a little bit a week or so ago, but I didn't think that she would know this artist well enough to pull off a whole episode. So,
Fair enough.
this episode's title is called Kiss and Makeup. So, what you have is mostly Kiss songs, which I think Joy will have heard of, and people in other bands who are known for wearing makeup.
That's a very interesting way of weaving that topic in there, Tim.
Exactly.
Creative.
Well, I'll just go very quickly about Kiss. Kiss were formed in 1973. They are known for their cartoon character-esque costumes and makeup and fireworks and shenanigans and all that kind of stuff. And apparently the origins of this act is that they used to listen to great music before they were famous. They used to listen to The Who. They used to listen to Deep Purple, Black Sabbath. And they, in their minds, these people were these amazing superheroes. They were like comic book characters. They were larger than life. They were more than human. And then they went to see them and they were just like dudes wearing jeans. And they were like, this is not what I thought it was going to be. So in their eyes, they wanted to create a band that had that visual. Mm-hmm. And so they created all the characters. And that's how Kiss came to be.
Which one's your favorite makeup?
I like the Catman, the drummer.
Peter Criss, right?
Yeah.
That one's my favorite.
But I also like the Star Child. I think that has a classic simplicity to it.
That is true, but I just like the cat.
Exactly. And while I was doing a bit of research for this episode, I was watching the music video of Kiss, Lick It Up. Have you ever seen that?
The music video?
Yes.
I don't know. What do I need to see it is what you're telling me?
Yes, it's horrifically bad.
Oh, God.
So it's like Kiss with no makeup. It was their 80s era when they dropped the makeup for a while. They look ridiculous, and they're walking along in like this sort of desolate wasteland type thing, a city wasteland thing, and then all these like women come out of drains, and Gene Simmons looks the creepiest he's ever looked in his life. And then there's like a bit where they somehow get invited into this like women place, and they're allowed to feast, and they're being fed. It is horrifically bad.
And that makes it so bad when you think about the lyrics of this song.
Yeah. And I can't stop watching it. I've watched it like 4 times since the other day. It is terrible.
Oh my God. I'm going to have to do a reacts video or something to that one, because that sounds like something, Tim.
It sounds like the 80s is what it sounds like.
But
so
who
bad.
produced this video? Who's the concept artist behind it?
But I said I would also watch it and just focus in on Gene Simmons. Like your skin will crawl. It really will.
Oh, God. Well, and everything you know about Gene Simmons just makes it even funnier.
Yeah, and then Paul Stanley, the thing about him, he's having the best time he's ever had. He's got a big grin on his face and he's boogieing away. And it's weird.
So you got creepy and dancing the night away. All right.
Yeah, anyhow.
And
anyway,
women coming out of the sewer.
I would recommend everyone watch Lick It Up because it is horrifically bad.
Okay. I'm going to have to give it a Goog as soon as this episode's over, because I'm generally curious now.
Okay, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to talk through some Kiss songs, and as I said, and some from acts of people who are known for wearing makeup. And I'll probably go between the two. I have a few more Kiss songs than I do with the other people, but we will figure it out. So the first one I'm going to come to is from 1987, and again, first one is Kiss, and this is Crazy, Crazy Nights.
I am very familiar with this song. I haven't heard it in a long time. I'm trying to think. So my association with Kiss is like their lyrics tend to be very repetitive, and I think this is a very repetitive song.
Yeah, these are crazy, crazy, crazy nights.
And I think that's partially because, like you're saying, it's more about the show and the spectacle that's Kiss than like the actual lyric knowledge there.
Yeah. See, the funny thing is that like Kiss really should have been in my wheelhouse because it's everything I like. It's 80s rock and even into the 70s as well. But it just wasn't on my radar. And there's maybe in the last year or two, like the Rock Solid podcast I listen to would sometimes talk about Kiss. And there's a YouTube channel called Channel 33 RPM, which is a vinyl-focused YouTube channel. Frank Landry, he does a great job on his YouTube channel. And he often will talk about Kiss. He's a big fan. And I thought, I really need to get into this. And then like what I've been doing is like once a week, making a point of listening to some Kiss stuff. And I've actually realized I really like it.
I wonder if it's because, and this is just my observation, and we do this a lot as humans. It's natural. I don't care what anybody says. We all judge books by their cover. Kiss comes off as very vapid, I guess. Mm-hmm. And so it makes you kind of dart yourself away from them, or maybe like an oversaturation. Because they're a band that I kind of forget about, to be honest. Like I know they're there, but I'm not searching them high and low. But then I do know a guy I went to high school with. He works at our Target up here, Tim, in Christiansburg. Okay. Shout out to Jason if he listens to the podcast. He's been, since I went to high school with him, because he's from the same area I'm from, he has been a Kiss obsessee. Like, I mean, owns everything from the doll to the this to the that. I remember his bumper stickers, his thing on his car, everything. This man, I mean, he probably owned a different Kiss shirt for every day of the week. So there are diehards out there.
Absolutely. I mean, if you're listening to Kiss, if you want sort of introspective social commentary, you're not going to get it with Kiss. It's all like cars and girls and stuff.
But I love that you point that out, because this is one of my, I don't want to say pet peeves, icks or whatever, something that just annoys me. I hate the concept that music has to be deep. I don't think it does. Mm-hmm. I think music can just be fun, and that's okay.
Yeah, and there's certain artists you're going to go to if you want that kind of stuff. Yeah. But it doesn't have to be like that.
No. Anyway, what is our next song?
Okay, so let's go to the makeup category of Kiss and makeup. And I'm going with Alice Cooper. Now, I'm taking a very popular track of his from 1989, and that is Poison.
That song lives in my head written free. It's one of those songs that, and you don't really hear it that much, like in the general world, but for some reason, I think it's a very big earworm.
Yeah, and it has some absolutely fantastic guitar playing on it. I think Al Petrelli plays guitar on that, but all the guitar work on that is superb.
And it just has a really cool, okay. So, and this may play with the kind of guitar thing you're talking about. You know how like when he's saying the word poison over and over and over again, it has kind of like an ominous feeling to it when he's calling her poison, or him whoever he's calling poison, right? The way he presents that word and the way the music sound kind of like plays into the poison feel of it. Does that make sense, or am I going crazy? Like I love that way he presents that.
No, I think you're right. It's such an identifiable track, and I think the album it came from, Trash, 1989. I think it was sort of a comeback almost for Alice, because I'd say Alice had disappeared, but he had his 70s era. But sort of as he moved into the 80s, he was sort of almost forgotten about. But it was like Wayne's World that put him back on the map, because he's in that one scene in Wayne's World where he's talking about Millie Walker, and that was how it was pronounced and all this kind of business. I think that maybe propelled Alice a little bit back into the mainstream.
Yeah, I mean, you could be right. And isn't he? And he's known for having that comeback. And what's funny is that was one of his comeback songs. But you're right; it's probably the number one song anyone thinks of when they think of Alice Cooper at this point.
Yeah, I mean.
At least it's the first one that comes to mind for me.
Well, I suppose from the classic era of Alice, you have Schools Out.
Oh, that's a good point. Which also is an earworm, because my brain instantly went, Schools Out, as soon as Tim said it. Yeah, I guess you're right. That would probably be the first one that comes to mind. But I haven't thought about Alice Cooper in a while either. You might have just found a new music rabbit hole I need to go down in the near future.
Yeah, and as you know, the gentleman's name is Vincent Furnier. He has changed his name legally now to Alice Cooper, but for the longest time he was Vincent Furnier, and Alice Cooper was the name of the band. And I think he left the band or fired the band or fell out with the band or something like that.
There's some rumor.
Yeah, and then he took the name with him, and then he became the Alice character, and he's now legally Alice Cooper.
Huh. I mean, I guess I never really thought about that. I knew the band was called Alice Cooper at one point, but I assumed he went by that name too. So you just taught me something, Tim.
No, I think he was. I think he was Vincent Furnier in the Alice Cooper band, but at some point he became Alice Cooper.
He became one with the band.
Yeah, it's like they're like at one with the band.
Anyway, all right, I'll see myself out.
Okay, well let's move on to a Kiss song, and this is from Destroyer, which is probably their finest album. I've listened to a lot of Kiss, as I said recently, and I think top to tail, Destroyer is probably the best one. And the version I have actually is from the 2012 remix called Destroyer Resurrected, and this is Detroit Rock City. So
I always laugh about this song because in my mind, you know, he literally says Detroit Rock City in the lyrics. But like, so when they're in Detroit, they have to play that song, obviously. But did they ever change the name when they went to different cities? I wonder, like, was that like one of their sticks?
No, what they do in concert is Paul Stanley says, let's all go down to Detroit.
Oh, you're right. They do have that little intro.
Yeah.
No, that makes sense. I was sitting there thinking, because like, this is going to sound really silly, but Lady Gaga had a song and she named a city in it. And when she would go to different cities, she would change it to that city or that state or whatever it was. And so I was sitting there thinking, I was like, I wonder if they ever changed it.
No, I think it's always been Detroit. Now, the interesting thing is if you have the album version of Detroit Rock City, it's a whole story. The whole song is a story, and it starts out where someone's listening on the radio about a car crash. And then it cuts to the guy in the car and he's listening to a Kiss song. And then I think he's drunk or high or something. And he's driving to a Kiss concert and he comes off the road and he crashes. And it's a whole, the whole song is a story. And if you look on the Wikipedia page, Paul Stanley, who wrote the song, said, you know, music should be a celebration. It should be a celebration of life and the arts. And he said, this song is a terrible, tragic tale. And I think it's based on a true story or something like that.
They like did a movie about it.
They did. I've never seen it, but I've heard of this Detroit Rock City film. I mean, all great bands have one or two films in their background.
The Spice Girls, obviously, guys. Come on, he's talking about Spice World.
Well,
Definitely not the Beatles.
I'm thinking of Tommy and Quadrophenia, actually.
I figured you were thinking like Hard Day's Night or something. Yeah. And my brain instantly with the Spice World, which is a quality film. No one will tell me otherwise.
Absolutely.
But yeah, it has to be, if they do have a movie, Tim, it has to be a cheesy movie too.
Oh,
it has to be.
Even the better. I mean, like Queen. I mean, they have the Bohemian Rhapsody film.
Yeah, but that's like a biopic. Those don't have to be cheesy. If it's not a biopic, it has to be cheesy.
Exactly. Do you know Van Halen don't have a film?
Well, Tim, start writing. We'll see what we can get out there.
There we go.
This opportunity.
Okay, well, let's move on to another makeup artist.
Okay.
And this, with the gentleman we've spoken of earlier, this is from 1983. This is Ozzy Osbourne, and I've gone with the track Bark at the Moon.
Well, that's one of my favorites. But I will say it's one of his more popular songs for sure. And I always think about the little graphic with the wolf is very iconic to him in my mind. Like I picture them as one. Oh, Ozzy. I still really wish I could go out to see him live because it would be a really good concert.
Yeah, and this is another one of those things that's ridiculous. I lived in London. Black Sabbath probably played there 50 times. Ozzy Osbourne probably played there many times. He probably played there with every incarnation of his backing band. Probably with Zakk Wylde as well.
I wonder at his concert, do you think that he has people actually bark at the moon in the audience?
Probably not.
Seems like an Aussie thing to me. Be like, okay, now everybody bark at the moon, and then everybody barks.
No, I listened to an Ozzy Osbourne live concert today, actually, as I was thinking about Ozzy.
Tim just turned down my hopes and dreams.
Yeah, there was no barking. There was lots of shouting from the audience because they were having the most fabulous time. And the concert I listened to did have Zakk Wylde on guitar.
Well, yeah, I've told this episode on here, this story on like 1,000 episodes about how he's banned from Utah because of the bats. He used to bite the heads off the bats.
Yeah, and I think he was banned from San Antonio, Texas for the longest time because he urinated up the cenotaph, which is outside the Alamo.
Oh, yeah. Well, I will say the only other person I know that was banned from Utah was Evanescence. And that's because they went through a whole thing with they didn't have their album like labeled properly and it had adult content on it. And it was a whole thing. Yeah. It's kind of random that you would think Evanescence, right? But that was something popular when Charlie lived there when he was younger.
Yeah, I mean, Evanescence is good music, good rock music, but it's not something that strikes me as terribly controversial. I mean, she may cover, some topics in those songs, but it's not the Sex Pistols. I mean, it's...
We have to think about Utah, though. When I moved to Utah, it really was a cultural shock in this sense. And I'm sorry if you live in Utah. It's just a cultural shock coming from an area where this was not a thing. So I was born in Florida, grew up in Southwest Virginia. That's where I lived my life. And when I was 20 years old, I moved to Utah for a few years so my husband could get and meet back with some family he had moved away from in a whole slew of things. So we would move to Utah. I lived there for 3 years. And the first thing that struck me when I got there was going into a grocery store. So, when you go into a grocery store, Tim, and you're going to check out and they've got all the magazine covers right beside you to make you try to buy them. Mm-hmm. They cover them with a black cover in Utah if they show shoulders on a person. Yes, they do. And I was like, what the? So I'm like, why is there? So another thing. So in the state of Virginia, in order to buy liquor, you have to go to a liquor store, state-run liquor store, but you can still get beer, wine, things like that at the grocery store. I can't remember specifically for beer, but you can't get wine in a grocery store in Utah. You can the beer is 0.5 or 0.05%. Like it's very low content. And the silly part about that is people who are beer drinkers, I'm not a big beer drinker, could care less. They just go over the border, tend to another state, get a bunch and bring it home. It didn't stop anything.
No, I mean, I've been to Utah. I've been to Salt Lake City. I actually wanted to go to the Salt Lake.
Yeah.
And we ate at the Hard Rock in Salt Lake City. We even went to the Tabernacle campus there.
That big building, the temple.
Yeah, the Mormon church there. Yeah, just because we was interested because we was there in town.
No, it's pretty.
See what that was all about. And I mean, I didn't see that kind of stuff because I'm there as a tourist and I'm just eating at chain restaurants like I would normally eating, staying in a hotel and seeing a few tourist attractions. So I'm not seeing the nitty gritty of Utah life, but that's very interesting.
It is, and it just weird little things like that like you don't see in other states. You see in Utah. The mountains are gorgeous, but what you said, this is just like a funny little thing before we move on. So when you're in Utah, and if you guys have ever Googled pictures of Utah, Tim can confirm, you see pictures of mountains. You see mountains in the background of all of them, big, beautiful. That's exactly what it looks like in real life. That's not a backdrop. Like the mountains are huge. They're gorgeous. They look exactly like that. So when I first moved there, pre-GPS, like always on our phone, knowing exactly where we're going, right? I got lost or somebody would give you directions and this would be the directions they would give you. So it's on a grid system and you've got your north and your west and you're like 1,000, 2,000 streets. So, like you'd say this northwest Main Street and 1,000, and you meet in the middle and that's where it's at. So that's kind of how they give you directions, kind of like a New York thing. So that I kind of got, but the thing that I was always great at is the direction, which way is north, which way is west, without having a road sign right in front of me, kind of pointing me. This is how they would say it. Well, if you're going west, the mountains will be getting bigger. And if you're going whatever, the mountains will be getting small. Do you see those mountains, Tim? Which one's the bigger one? What kind of direction is that? I remember looking at the person like, are you serious right now? They're all big.
The mountains are huge.
Yes. And I will have to get Charlie to record a little segment. He will tell you that is how they say directions there. And they'll be like, and mountain range, which will be getting smaller because you're going west. And I'm like, for real? Y'all just know the mountain ranges around here? Anyway, so there's my little spiel about Utah.
Well, let's be thankful that GPS is a thing.
I only got lost like 17 times.
There we go. Okay, well let's move back to our friend. What was Kiss the last one or Makeup? I can't remember. We got distracted with Utah.
It was something that had Bark at the Moon. It was Bark at the Moon.
There we go. All right, yeah. Well, let's go back to Kiss then. So this one is from 1979. This is from the Dynasty album, or Dynasty, depending on where you are. And this is an absolute favorite. This is disco Kiss. This is amazing. This is I Was Made for Loving You,
which is probably my favorite Kiss song. By large, probably easily my favorite Kiss song. Because it's right, it's disco.
Yeah, see, one thing about Kiss, Paul Stanley and Gene Simmons, they consider the band a business. You know, they're rock stars and they play music and all that kind of stuff and they're artists, etc. But to them, it is their business partners, and this is a money-making exercise. So when you're Kiss and it's the 70s and disco is king, what does your rock band do? You make disco songs.
And that's the way they talk about it. Like Tim was saying, they basically built a Broadway show that's a moving Broadway show that they could sell products for and monopolize so much. And they were still good musicians in their own right. But it makes sense. I never thought about that, but the different eras of Kiss. Because I love disco. And I had never put those two things together until Tim just said it. And it's my favorite Kiss song. And Tim saw me started singing it when he was talking about it. Even like the guitar riffs and everything are very disco.
Yeah, like the bass line. Boom, 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 boom.
Mm-hmm.
Hey, and the other interesting thing about Kiss is that they're never shy about having other people play on the records if they think it's going to sell a better product or make a better product to sell.
At least they're transparent.
Yeah, and if you look a lot of the credits, even when Peter Criss was in the band, Anton Fig, who's an amazing drummer, who's a session drummer, he was the drummer in David Letterman's band for many years. He played with Joe Bonamassa until very recently. He played drums on a lot of the Kiss albums because, you know, they probably thought, well, he's the better drummer. We can get the session cut quickly and then we can sell it and et cetera, et cetera.
Now, I have heard, and I have not confirmed or denied this or gave it a goog, that Gene Simmons hates playing I Was Made for Loving You.
Possibly, but I mean...
It's like his least favorite song to play or something like that.
Yeah, I mean, it's all the bass line's all in octaves. I mean, he may not have even played bass on the original recording.
Probably
because
not.
Again, you look in the credits and some of those songs he doesn't even play bass on them.
Well, and I mean, I don't know. I'm not knowledgeable enough in string musicians or string instruments to be able to answer this. But I mean, is he known as a good bass player or is he just known as an average bass player?
I think he's known as the bass player in Kiss and probably more known for his tongue than he is for his bass, to be perfectly honest with you.
Or his Kiss coffins and all that stuff.
Yeah, well, that's the thing. Kiss coffee, Kiss caskets, Kiss cola. They're just relentless with merchandising.
Well, and he's had some interesting news articles recently, so you're right. He's probably known for other things. I was just trying to think, like, is he known to be a good bass player, or would they need to bring somebody else in if it were out of his normal repertoire?
He's no Paco Pastorius. He's no Tal Wilkenfield. He's no, I don't know, I can't think of another great bass. Jack Bruce or something.
Yeah, okay. I'll take that as the answer. I mean, I've never paid attention. And as a whole, and Tim's the guitarist here, so he can be able to tell us, Kiss music doesn't seem overly complicated to me to play, though.
No, it's 70s classic rock, really. I mean, Ace Frehley was a great rock guitar player, or still is a great rock guitarist. Gene Simmons, you know, bass. Paul Stanley plays pretty good guitar, but I mean, again, you don't think when you think of like the titans of rock guitar, you don't think of Paul Stanley. You think of other people, but I mean, he's a fine guitar player.
There we go. Maybe it's just we've never thought about it before because we're too busy stuck on the makeup or something. I don't know.
Yeah, and I think that's exactly how Kiss want you to have it, because they want you to think of the characters, they want you to think of the spectacle, and then they want you to buy a T-shirt with those characters on.
You know, though, that that's exactly the same thing the Spice Girls did. That's literally how they were marketed. And I wonder, like, the science of like what you're talking about. Like, they picked the little, you got Baby Spice, you got Sporty Spice, you got Ginger. It's a character. And they wanted that, and they picked the way they did because it would sell to young girls like me at the time that are 7 years old, right? It's the same thing.
Is this the first time that Kiss and the Spice Girls have been likened to each other?
Probably not. You'd probably be surprised. Now I want to see if they could do a duet together.
Now that would be fantastic.
If that happens, somebody better call me and give me rights. Well, it was funny because you say that, and I'm going to bring it about a Glee episode. Of course I am. There was this episode about like the kind of larger than life characters, musicians type thing. And I can't remember exactly what they called them, but all the girls want to do Lady Gaga because she puts on all the characters, right? And then the guys, some of the guys, not all of the guys, were like, I don't want to do Lady Gaga. So they're like, what's the equivalent? And they did Kiss.
Oh.
I just thought about that. There you go.
There we are. Fantastic. Okay. All right. Well, let me move on to a makeup artist. So I've gone with Twisted Sister and the fabled Dee Snider. And how could I not talk about We're Not Gonna Take It?
So Tim has heard me say this many times, including whenever things that he was aware of at work, because Tim and me had to contact each other a lot when things didn't go right, because I was the HR manager and he was the IT manager. Well, I wasn't the HR manager. I was an HR professional there and he was the IT manager. So sometimes I'd have to tell him, hey, deactivate this, do this, things like that. And so I told him whenever I was frustrated or anything, there's two songs that always come on the radio. It's always We're Not Gonna Take It and then Bang Your Head. Both of those songs. And it's so cliche, but it is my windows down. I'm going to scream it at the top of my lungs song. Yeah. No matter what it is when I'm frustrated.
And I think it's been used by so many people. So many activists have used that We're Not Going to Take It. It's become quite the anthem.
Well, and there was even some stuff about different politicians trying to use it, him telling them no. But Dee Snider did a whole thing. Did you know about him and the public PBS, where he did the public service thing?
No.
He did a campaign, and I would need to Google this. Don't come for me, internet, if I have it wrong. But like, they were trying to defund PBS. And he stood up on trial and explained why he thought PBS was important. Dee Snider did. And I thought that was incredibly random because he's not somebody you would pick for that.
No, I suppose not. But I mean, Dolly Parton was talking about NPR not that long ago. She was on about how much she loved NPR.
He was just talking a lot about how it's helpful for low-income children and how they can, it gives them a free service to watch. And there's educational programming and music programming and different things like that. And I thought that was really cool because I don't know a whole lot about Dee Snider as a person either way. I know he's got really big hair, but yeah, I watched a documentary where they talked about him.
Yeah, you probably find that he's a lot deeper, a lot more intelligent than you'd ever think he was. But I mean, you see this guy, wearing stage makeup and singing this song and being in Twisted Sister. But I mean, there's more to somebody than just that. So, I mean, you don't know what's important to him or what he's into or what he supports or otherwise. I do get the impression when you hear him interviewed that he is a very switched on, super smart man.
Yeah, I've heard that too. And I watched a thing where he went into a local biker bar or something, or maybe he owned a biker bar or something. It was like a documentary where he went in, was just talking to regular people. And he was very intelligent sounding in that moment.
Sure, absolutely. I mean, as I said, you just don't know what people are like off stage, as it were.
But as cliche as it is, We're Not Going to Take It is one of my go-to anthems.
Well, there we are. I'm glad I picked it for you, Joy. Okay, well, let's move back to Kiss. So this one is from one of my favorite soundtrack albums of all time. Now, of course, it is on a Kiss album too, but the version I'm going to talk about here is from one of my favorite soundtracks of all time. Okay. And that would be Bill and Ted's Bogus Journey soundtrack from 1991, a film which is mostly poor. It's not a good film, really, and it's nowhere near as good as the original. However, the soundtrack is amazing. I highly recommend it if you can get hold of it. The version on Spotify, because I'm all Spotify now, all the time. There's tracks missing. For whatever reason, they don't have clearance for a few of the tracks. So if you can find it elsewhere and it has all the tracks on it, it's certainly worth doing that. But the track I picked out, obviously, is the Kiss song. And this is God Gave Rock and Roll to You 2.
What a long name for a song.
Yeah.
Like, it just makes me laugh because, like, when you started saying it, I'm like, oh, gosh, that's a very long name for a song.
Yeah, I mean, it's a remake. It's not the original version of this song. This original version of this song appeared on another Kiss album in the 70s, but they re-recorded it for Bill and Ted's Bogus Journey. But I find the Bill and Ted version the superior version, in my opinion.
Well, to be fair, that plays a lot along. That's English, everyone. That plays along a lot with my thing about the repetitive language over and over and over again, their songs. Because it says, like, God gave rock and roll to you like 37 times in that song.
Exactly.
Easily.
And there's a great line in it. And it says, God has given us a gift. God has given us a role. And that role's name is rock and roll.
What quality. Right?
I mean, that is high-end lyric writing right there.
I mean, yeah, that's something there. I don't even remember that being a line, but I'm very happy you brought that up because that's quality writing right there. But like we said, that's what you're going for when you're going for Kiss. You're not here for someone to give you a philosophy lesson. No,
it's just good time rock and roll music.
Woohoo!
Okay, well let's go back to another makeup artist. But we're not a makeup artist and somebody who does someone's makeup. Well, maybe they do. Maybe all the people on this list are talented makeup artists as well. I don't know.
I can see Dee Snider doing that on the side.
Maybe. I mean, he may be doing makeup for other people in the band. He may be doing makeup for other people. I don't know. And if he is, good luck to you, Dee Snider. But this person I'm going to talk about now, this is from their 1971 album Hunky Dory. Okay. And this is David Bowie, and this is the song Life on Mars.
Now, David Bowie is someone I could see being a makeup artist.
Oh, without a shadow of a doubt.
And doing it really well, because he seems to be one of those people who does everything really well.
Yeah, I mean, David Bowie was such an amazing artist. He's singer, songwriter, producer, all of the above. And I mean, as well as his career with just being David Bowie, he had a side project called Tin Machine, which was like a heavy rock band.
Yeah. Well, he got a resurgence. You were talking about Space Odyssey as a whole got a big resurgence because of that Stranger Things TV show.
Well, it was actually started before that because Commander Chris Hadfield was up on the International Space Station and he cut a version of Space Odyssey.
That's true. You're right. The one we talked about.
And he's singing all these songs. I'm floating in a most peculiar way in my tin can. And where is he in a tin can floating in microgravity? See, that's the quality writing.
Not what was it? What was the last line? I'm kidding. I'm not going to make you say it again.
God has given us a reason. He's given us a role, and that role's name is rock and roll.
I need Tim to get that as a tramp stamp. That will be your tattoo. Tim's not got any tattoos. Everyone, we need to put up a poll. If Tim gets a tattoo, that's what it's going to say. Hannah will kill us.
She was talking about getting another tattoo the other day, but I don't know whether she'd go through with it. She has a small cherry just to just below her shoulder blade. And did I ever tell you this story?
No.
She decided that she wanted a winking cartoon fish on her butt cheek that she was going to design herself. And that's what she wanted.
Okay.
So she sort of built it up in her mind. She was going to get this. She had the design she wanted, and the day came. She went to the tattoo artist, and the tattoo artist said, "Yeah, I can do that." And they said they said that'll be 3 sessions because I'm going to have to do it and then color it and then do something else. And it was, I forget what the price was. It was $300 or $200 or something for the piece. And she's like, "Well, what can I get for $50?" And he said, "Well, I can do you like that things off there." He said, "Oh, yes, just do the cherry, slap it there."
I will say, so when I got my first tattoo, I have a pretty large music piece. It's actually a music piece on my back. It's got music notes. It's like a full grain staff, treble clef, and it says every song has a story underneath it. Very on brand, right, for our podcast. Mm-hmm. And so I picked that one because it had some white coloring, but mostly solid lines. Because I said, if I'm going to get it, I don't want it to take multiple sessions because I don't want to have to walk around with like half a tattoo until I come back. And so it's because they do that. Now I have another one on my arm that says, nevertheless, she persisted. My best friend also has the same tattoo. We have the exact same spot. And this one was done all in one session, but it's pretty small. That's the only two I have, though. I wouldn't mind another one, but I haven't decided what. They're kind of expensive, too. And so I'm kind of like, do I really want to spend the money on a tattoo, or would I rather buy fun things?
Yeah, see, I don't have a problem with tattoos whatsoever. I don't have one. The problem I would have with getting one personally is it would not be right and it would bother me.
Yeah, it can get on your nerves. See, my first one on my back, it's very clean. He did a very nice job because with like somebody doing like a treble clef or like a grain staff, you want your lines very smooth. Mm-hmm. There's one little spot though, Tim's right, because it did not hurt that bad. I mean, it hurts. I'm sorry. I'm not going to be one of those people who lies. It's like, yeah, stabbing a needle into you feels great. It doesn't. Like, I'm sorry, it doesn't. But it didn't hurt that bad until there's one little spot right when he got towards my shoulder blade and I moved. And it's tiny and it's in the grain staff and I can see it. And to this day, even though it's on my back, if I see a picture of it or if I see it in a mirror, what does my eyes go right to, Tim? That little spot.
Absolutely. See, that's the problem. It's like, do I get a Knight Rider tattoo? Do I get a guitar tattoo?
Oh,
that
God.
kind of stuff. But the problem is that, so I'm going to get a guitar tattoo and it's going to be a Music Man guitar or whatever. Mm-hmm. And whoever does it's going to do the piece. And then I'm going to look at it and I go, that pickup is wrong. And it would bother
and Tim
me.
would never. So I have a funny story about that. I'm not going to name names. I'm not going to tell anybody who this is. I highly doubt this person listens to our podcast or they listen to our podcast. But anyway, they got a guitar, a Fender Strat on their arm, right, Tim? Mm-hmm. And it's got the neck. And they did not go to a very good tattoo artist. And the lines in it were wavy all the way down on all the lines. And they showed it to me and I was like, great, congratulations. And I was like, I would burn my arm off. That would drive me insane. It was so bad. I would have had, if it were me, everything else was good, but the lines were wonky. And would be like, it's like the worst thing for a tattoo.
Yeah. Which is what puts me off it, if I'm being honest.
Yeah, that person admitted to me the person who did the tattoo has been a tattooist for a very long time and was losing their eyesight. So why they let them do a tattoo?
Yeah, I don't know.
Logic on that one was missing, Tim.
Goodness me. Well, there we go. Well, anyhow, let's do one more from each before we wrap up this kiss and makeup episode, which has been mostly tales of me talking about Spotify and tattoos more than music, but it's on brand for us, Joy. I mean, have we ever got through a whole episode and just spoke about the topic? Probably
not. It'd be a really boring cast. Really boring cast, a really boring podcast, I think. If there's not a podcast with the name Boring Cast that just does random things, they need to. All right.
Okay, well, I'm going to go with the 1977 Kiss song. And this is probably the least subtle song in their catalog.
Great.
And this is from this album of the same name, and this is Love Gun.
Oh, wow, Tim. I never knew what that song's about. Would you like to enlighten the listeners? I love how right where like the whole chorus is just love gun, love gun, love gun, love gun. And then it's like love gun, love gun.
Maybe this is deliberate. Maybe the way that the songs are written is so they are earworms. Now, some of the songs, I think Desmond Child helps write some of the songs, where they've had external writers and producers involved in this. But yeah, you're right. I'd never really thought this before, but all of these songs, or a good chunk of these songs, have very catchy, repetitive choruses that stick in your brain.
But think about it. You were just saying they're willing to have other people play instruments on their music. They're willing to do whatever it is to make the song be popular because they're there for the popularity. They're there for the fame monster, whatever you want to call it. What better to do than a song that sticks with you forever? Because mainstream music gets a lot of rap because, a lot of it is, or bad rap because a lot of it is, repetitive and like that stupid, hey, I just met you. But this is, you know what I mean? That Call Me Maybe song that was out forever. I hated that song. But I still, anytime someone says, call me, what does my brain say? Call me maybe, like the song. That's exactly what they're doing because it sells. That's all it is.
Exactly. And anytime anyone talks to you about a love gun, where do you go? You go straight to this song.
I don't know. I don't really generally have conversations about love guns. It doesn't come up that often. But next time, if that happens, I'll report back. You're right, though. They went straight to the point on this one.
Yeah. Some AC/DC songs have similarly unsubtle titles. But maybe they were pioneers in the rock and roll unsubtle title stakes. I don't know.
Well, the other thing is like, we talk about the repetitive lyrics, but there's like only like 5 other words to the song.
Yeah, it's like, I love you, baby. And something else I can't remember. But
what a great Kiss remake there, Tim. I need you to isolate that audio for future use.
See what I need to be is like a morning zoo. I need to have a panel with all this stuff in it. I can just hit a button and then they'll just play all the sound effects. Charlie,
my husband, for those who don't know, Tim knows this, has made this reference before because he always buys the keyboards with the programmable keys. I can't, what are they called? Hotkeys or whatever?
Yeah.
Constantly. And he always jokes about, he thought about making us a little switchboard, Tim, and putting our little sounds in it for the podcast. And he has that little makey where you can make anything a circuit and you can make things keys. And he thought about making a ridiculous one for us.
See, I think that would be a good idea. I used to have a Mr. T soundboard key ring like that.
See, the problem would be, Tim, is you would have to have it on your desk because you know how I'm honestly just knocking things over. I would be like every 5 seconds you'd hear like weird noises because I'd be hitting it all the time. It would have to stay at Tim's house.
Yeah, you start getting excited all of a sudden and say, it would say, I'm not human, Sookit. I'm vampire.
Exactly. Or me screaming Stevie Nicks at the top of my lungs. So yes, Tim, it would have to stay at your house.
Yeah, I'd be happy to be custodian of that.
All right, I'll tell Charlie to get the makey out wherever it's at in the house.
Okay, well let's wrap this episode up with one more song, and this is from 2004 from the album American Idiot, and it's Billie Joe Armstrong, who is the lead singer, guitarist, songwriter, etc. of Green Day, and I've picked the song "Boulevard of Broken Dreams."
So that song is one I'm very familiar with because Green Day, it was popular right around their biggest hype was when I was, right around the age that you'd listen to them. Mm-hmm. Boulevard of Broken Dreams is one of their major hits. My best friend Molly, her favorite band is Green Day as well. So when I'm with her, that's like her go-to of all things. So I hear it all the time. The weird thing about Green Day is I like them, but I've never it's kind of like you were saying with Kiss. You like all the subsequent bands around them, but I've never really went down the Green Day rabbit hole.
Mm-hmm. I was a big fan of Dookie when it came out, which I think was maybe their first album.
It was.
There's some really strong songs on there. And then they sort of fell out on my thinking until American Idiot came out. Now, they obviously had other songs between that. Well, actually, no, there was one song, 1998. They had that Brain Stew. Yeah. And there was a version of that they did for the film Godzilla, which came out in 1998. Yeah. And that has a really great descending riff all the way through it. And the Godzilla mix has sort of T-Rex sounds through it.
I have heard that. The thing about Boulevard of Broken Dreams, though, is it has a very, I walk a lonely road. Mm-hmm. It has a very melancholy sound to it. And the intro is very distinct. I feel like it's become like a pop culture kind of thing, too.
Absolutely. I mean, it's iconic, but maybe not quite as iconic as Time of Your Life, which is one of those songs that you tell me they play at graduations all the time.
And I never want to hear again. That and Vitamin C's graduation. Those two were always together. I mean, Time of Your Life, it ranks up there for me now with like Bohemian Rhapsody and stuff. I could go without ever hearing it again.
Mm-hmm.
But I mean, Green Day's a good band. I'd love to go see him live. And the lead singer, Billy Joel, yeah.
Yes. The piano man himself who fronts Green Day.
Anyway, Mr. Armstrong, he's sober now. And so they've been able to do some like tours and stuff again. So that's really good. Because he struggled with substance abuse for a while there.
Well, I'm pleased to hear that he's clean and sober. I mean, and so they're not really a band I would probably want to go and see particularly. But I mean, they have some great songs.
Depends on how much the ticket prices are, and if I go in Ticketmaster and add it all up, and it's not an arm and a leg.
Well, I think at this point, I mean, being an actor of their stature, you're looking at least $150 a ticket by the time you add taxes and fees and something. And
pay for the president of Ticketmaster's lunch or something.
Yeah, I mean, I thought about going to see WWF Wrestling at Roanoke not that long ago, and they had a deal on it. It was like buy one, get one free tickets. And the lowest tier you could get, I think, was $25. And I thought, well, that's a night out, $25. And then you put taxes, and then you put fees, and then you put parking, and then you put this. And then before you know it, your single $25 ticket is $67. And I'm like, I don't know if I want to sit that far back and pay that much for that.
I agree with you on that. That's what I'm saying. Like, I have to go through and do all the hoops and see what it totals before I can make a decision if I'm going or not.
Yeah, but this is my plea to the vendors of the world. Whether you're selling a hotel room, whether you're selling tickets, whether you're renting a car, whether you're doing anything like that, be upfront with the pricing. Mm-hmm. You're going to rent a car. How much is that car going to cost? $68 a day. That's what you should pay at the end. Not $68 a day plus fees, plus tax, plus convenience fee, recovery fee.
Some cleaning surcharge. Fee, you don't even know where it came from.
Oh, it's just stop it.
That's me and Tim's biggest gripe for 2023. How do we stop the fees?
Exactly. Just be upfront with pricing.
Yeah, I feel like if my expectations were it's going to cost me $200, not, okay, each one of these tickets is about $60. So I'm looking at $120, maybe $10 more, $15 more for tax. But then when I get to the end and it says $205, it instantly is going to turn me off and I'm just not going to be interested anymore.
Sure, absolutely.
There's my theory. Had nothing to do with the song. But with that, do you want to leave anything for the people?
I would just like to say be extra kind.
All right. Bye.
Bye-bye. See you later. Bye-bye.